What's up, guys? I'm EJ, and this is Kendall here, and today we're going to be breaking down the top prospects in their NBA comparisons. Now, Kendall, this is not a video we've done yet. I love doing player comparisons. I think a lot of times when we think about these draft prospects, we were thinking about, is this guy a 3D guy? Is this guy a lead guard? Is this guy a rim protector? But I think it's even more fun to kind of see what type of players that we've already seen in the league and how they match up with some of the guys that are coming out in this year's draft.
Yeah, especially if you're primarily an NBA fan and you're not really a college basketball fan.
Definitely.
You may not watch these guys, but you may want to know, look, I'm getting a top 5 pick. Who in the NBA does he play like? Who does in the NBA? So now you know what kind of role he can fit into when he gets in the league and hopefully when he reaches his prime.
So let's get right into it. I want to talk about a guy that you know very well. You got to talk to him a couple months ago.
Yes.
He's no longer at Memphis, but nonetheless, you're very familiar with James Wiseman.
Yes, I am a Memphis basketball fan, Memphis Tigers fan for those who do not know. But James Wiseman is a guy I've watched for 3-4 plus years at this point. Very, very exciting talent. He's a guy that he's been compared to a lot of guys. Miles Turner. He's gotten Chris BOSH comparison. There are guys that he reminds me of, and those guys are part of it. And Dave Robinson's another guy. But for me, I'm going to go with HASSAN Whiteside. HASSAN Whiteside, some people may look at that and say, look, I mean, the number one pick, HASSAN Whiteside. I mean, HASSAN Whiteside's biggest red flag is not his talent level.
Definitely.
That has never been the question with HASSAN Whiteside. A lot of it is upstairs. A lot of it is, those are the issues with HASSAN Whiteside. And if HASSAN Whiteside checks every box you'd want, maybe outside of jump shooting ability. And Wiseman's a better jump shooter than HASSAN Whiteside. He stretches the floor, has more stretch potential than Whiteside ever had. But in terms of the rim protection, the rim running ability, the rebounding, I think a lot of those, and just the physical profile, remind me of a young Heat HASSAN Whiteside.
It's an interesting one. I actually haven't heard that one very much, but I like that comparison. I know you kind of scoffed at it, but I'm going to go with Chris BOSH for his comparison. The reason why I say that is because when I watch both guys, I kind of said the same thing about both guys, and that it's rare I've ever seen big men move so fluidly on the court as those two guys move. They look so comfortable, and it's bizarre because you're expecting a guard to look kind of like that, and we're seeing more and more big men way more comfortable going out on the perimeter, switching on screens and things like that. But these two guys are very unique in just the level of comfort they show on the basketball court. A lot of people don't understand that. People say, well, Wiseman is a great shot blocker. Chris BOSH was an excellent defender in the NBA and was actually a really great shot blocker at Georgia Tech. He averaged more than 2 blocks a game at Tech. So when I think about the not the finished product BOSH, where he was shooting threes and he showed a stretchability that we haven't quite seen yet.
The basket game, face-up game.
Right. I'm thinking about the Wiseman. The BOSH I saw at Georgia Tech, who was long, lanky, ran the floor, beat guys up and down the court, was able to beat guys in short, small isolation situations. That, to me, translates very well to what I've seen from Wiseman. Wiseman's a little taller, maybe a little more physically imposing, but I think that's a decent fit. What about another controversial prospect, LaMelo Ball?
Yeah, LaMelo is the toughest one for me to find. We're talking about a player that there is no real true player like LaMelo Ball. With his size, his passing ability, his defensive prowess, but the deficiencies he has finishing at the rim, jump shooting. The only other player I look at and say has those same strengths and weaknesses is his brother Lonzo Ball. That's the guy who he reminds me of.
That's a cop-out, man.
Yeah, he reminds me of his brother. 6'7", streaky shooter, extremely streaky to the point where they lean on the negative side in terms of shooting ability, but elite playmaker, have high level defensive potential. LaMelo's not there yet, but he shows the some of the same traits that Lonzo showed at UCLA and is continued in the NBA. I think LaMelo has a higher upside with the right coaching and the right players around him, but a lot of the similar abilities to his brother.
I think it's a cop out to stay within the family, but I do get it. I do get the comparison. To me though, I'm gonna go back a little bit, and this is a name that's familiar to a lot of fans who are watching NBA today, who have watched it in recent years. He just retired, but SHAUN Livingston. And I'm not thinking about the SHAUN Livingston that was kind of like slower, older, kind of a shooting guard, wing type of player who maybe just kind of was a point guard in spots. I'm talking about SHAUN Livingston coming out of high school and I believe he's from Illinois back in the day.
Yeah, Chicago.
Exactly. He's from Chicago, playing for the Clippers before the devastating knee injury. Their games are very similar. Unorthodox scorers, excellent passers, best in the up-tempo style, excellent rebounders, triple-double threats. Those are the kind of that's the kind of game I kind of see. And then the weaknesses are the same. Streaky shooter. They can play in the half court, but to me that's not their strength per se. I think LaMelo is way more advanced than Lonzo was coming out of college, UCLA. But I still think that his game is way more dominant when he's in the open court. When he's in the half court, because of his inconsistent shooting, he can be guarded, and he's not the most physically imposing either. Both guys similar frame, 6'7", very skinny, but really good ball handlers, really good floor general. So that's my comparison. If you guys got to see Shaun Livingston before the knee injury, when he started to put it together a little bit in the Clippers, and especially when he was in high school, he was just dynamite. What about Anthony Edwards, a guy who could be potentially the number 1 pick right now?
Yeah, the Ant-Man.
That really his nickname?
Yeah, man.
I had not heard anybody call him that, but okay, cool.
Yeah, the Ant-Man, he's obviously one of the most prolific guards in college basketball.
For sure.
6'5", 220-something, bounce like Ja Morant, but, also can really shoot it, as Michigan State found out in Maui. He's an interesting one because there aren't many players like him, and a guy that his coach Tom Crean compared him to, and actually coached at Indiana, was Victor Oladipo. And I think that's an apt comparison. I think Victor Oladipo, you talk about the strength, the size, the athleticism, the physical profile, all similar to Victor Oladipo. I think he's maybe a slightly stronger, but Oladipo now is fairly strong as well. Sure. I think you talk about the defensive prowess. Oladipo maybe a little bit more polished defensively coming out of Indiana, but he was also a 3-year prospect.
Yeah.
So he had those advantages. But Anthony Edwards has a lot of the same toughness defensively and also the energy. He just has to refine some of his defensive awareness. But and then you talk about the offensive polish. Oladipo didn't have any of the offensive polish that Anthony Edwards has now coming out of Indiana. But you talk about Pacers. Oladipo has every offensive move in the book, and that's similar to what Anthony Edwards strives to be, and he could be very early in his career as a 20-point scorer. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two.
Yeah, and I think the comparison's so good that I agree. That was my comparison. Yeah. I have Victor Oladipo as well, and Tom Crean, he pitched was going to Georgia because of what he was able to do in getting Victor Oladipo to be the number 2 pick in the draft. Dwayne Wade as well, I think is also a similar body type. The competitiveness is the same. The defensive intensity is the same. The ability to just get to the rim at will is the same. And just the competitiveness. Both guys you look at them as probably undersized shooting guards, but you don't really worry about it because they make up for it with strength, with toughness, and just with not giving a damn in terms of who's in front of him. I love Oladipo. He's one of my favorite players in the league right now. Hopefully he gets back healthy, and I think Edwards definitely is an apt comparison. What about Cole Anthony, a guy who we won't be seeing for a little while with the knee injury?
Yeah, Cole Anthony's he's a very interesting prospect because he's kind of polarizing depending on who you ask. I had to go back a little bit to find one for Cole Anthony. The guy now would have been maybe Damian Lillard, but that Damian Lillard I think that's driving a little high. I think that's maybe his ceiling, but if we're going with a more accurate comparison, I'm looking at either one of Steve Francis or STEPHON Marbury. Both guys kind of similar, but I think Cole Anthony fits in that play style of he would have fit great in 2003, like Marbury and Steve Francis, but and maybe if those guys play now, maybe those guys are viewed maybe more favorably. They were viewed favorably back then, but
and the game would have been the rules and the way the game was played would have been way more in their favor.
They could have been more dynamic than even they were back then, but fits that I think he can be a 20-point scorer in the NBA. Explosive, can have the athleticism that those guys had. Can really light it up. Can shoot when he's on fire. The only issue that you have with Cole Anthony is just his playmaking ability. He's a point guard, but he doesn't really get other guys involved. That was his problem at Oak Hill, Malloy. Kind of a problem in North Carolina, even though he doesn't have much help around him.
Yeah.
So we haven't really seen a lot of the playmaking ability. So you wonder, and NBA teams have had the question of what kind of a winner is Cole Anthony. You know, like he's not helped up again by the situation he walked into in North Carolina, but he hasn't done anything to really change that. So I think there are a lot of similarities to STEPHON Marbury, another New York City point guard like Cole Anthony, and Steve Francis.
Yeah, that's a great throwback there with Francis and Marbury. This guy's a current player, but it's still a little bit of a throwback pick. He's playing now, but I got Jeff Teague. And some people may hear Jeff Teague and think that that's me dissing Cole Anthony. Not at all. Jeff Teague was an all-star, is played in the league 10, however many years he's played. He's a starter.
Yeah.
Jeff Teague's a very solid player. I think to me their strengths are the same in that they can get a bucket. And I think of the Jeff Teague, especially at Wake Forest, very tough to stay in front of, can score on all three levels. Kind of fearless kind of scorers. Jeff Teague kind of fit those bills early on in his career in Atlanta and at Wake Forest. But the deficiencies are the same. You talked about running a team. Are they winners? Are they true point guards? Like, those are the kind of the same questions we have for Cole Anthony, and I really didn't get that solved early on in this season. Now, he was battling a knee injury, so maybe he had more to his game that we haven't seen yet. Hopefully we'll get to see that if it's not in Carolina in the NBA. But I think for now, Jeff Teague to me I thought was a fair comparison. Not a disrespectful comparison at all, because he's a solid player. Just there are concerns I have with Anthony's game that I need to see figured out before I just leap to Damian Lillard, which I do think could be a possible ceiling for him, because the guy has explosive scoring ability. All right, and the last guy we got is a guy who's really rising up draft boards, which is ironic because he was really highly touted coming out of high school. But we're going to talk about him here. What about Vernon Carey from Duke?
Yeah, Vernon Carey Jr. is, a guy that, like you said, kind of fallen under the radar for a lot of draft people, even though, like you said, he was a top 5 player coming out of high school. Been really dominant at Duke, not surprising, and was viewed as a dinosaur by a lot of draft people, because the back to the basket plotting big man is just not cool in today's NBA. Drew Okafor is a guy he's been compared to a lot, also a Duke guy, with a lot of the same deficiencies. But I'm actually gonna say he has more potential than that. Even though Okafor is a nice player, I'm gonna go with Zach Randolph. I think Zebo
stole my pick, man.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. You should have went first, but
yeah, we gotta change this format next time around.
But I think Zebo is a really, really dynamic big. Even though athletically doesn't, I think Vernon Carey may be a little bit more explosive in terms of athleticism, and maybe he's a little bigger. But in terms of not gonna wow you with athleticism, I think Vernon Carey can jump over a phone book. I don't know if Zebo can, but Vernon Carey has a similar post game. Can stretch the floor. Not the best defender, but a great rebounder. I just think they have a lot of the same strengths, and I think Vernon Carey, while he's not a power forward, I think it's similar to the Chris BOSH comparison. I think in today's NBA, Zach Randolph coming up might have been a 5.
Yeah. That's the guy who I had. I think Randolph is a really good comparison for Carey. Two things that I see with both guys. One, great feet, not fast, but quick. Quick in short spurts. And never seem to be sped up or out of position because of their lack of quickness. They both have very solid feet. They're lumbering, but not to the point where it really, really hurts them at this point, at least. Also, great touch around the basket. And that's something that I think when we talk about comparing him and Okafor, I never really felt that about Okafor, and I was high on Okafor. I'm not going to be here and be like, I knew Okafor was going to be a bust. We
knew Porzingis was better.
No, that's not how I felt at the time. I thought Okafor was arguably better than Cat. Yes. So maybe you should stop listening to this video. But at the same time, I never felt Okafor had great touch. To me, a lot of times he just kind of just ran over guys.
Were great.
He did have great feet, but he kind of just ran over guys. He kind of just overpowered people. I mean, routinely, I see Carey make shots around the basket, off the glass, reverse, left hand, right hand, an array of different moves that you just don't expect to see from a kid his age.
Right.
And that's very impressive. And that's what I remember seeing from Zach Randolph at Michigan State.
The one difference is, and this could be the difference between Carey being a superstar or an all-star or just an average guy, is Zach Randolph has an elite level of toughness. We can't quantify if Vernon Carey has that or not. He's 19.
Well, we know in his hood, bully get bullied. So,
Yeah.
So you gotta have toughness growing up with Zach Randolph because bullies get bullied.
DeMarcus Cousins learned that himself.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But that's something we just don't know. So we gotta learn more about Carey. We learned about all these guys during the draft process. Yeah, Zach had something in his heart that made him different. I think Carey showed me a little bit, but it's hard to tell. He's on a stacked team and it's Duke, so I don't think really we'll get an answer to that level of toughness really until we get to see him in the NBA.
Right.
But a really skilled player, an intriguing guy, because again, like you said, a lot of people think he's a dinosaur. Maybe he does have a place in the NBA with the way he's playing. We'll see. But anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, what comparisons do you see with these guys? Leave a comment. I don't think this will be our last comparison video either. We'll probably do some more. But leave a comment if you have any better comparisons or if you agree with what we said. Like this video if you enjoyed it. And of course, subscribe to our channel, New Generation Media. For Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.